Good afternoon, good morning for some. It's a great day. We got more NASCAR, the final of a very busy weekend here at Homestead-Miami. We got the Cup race today, the Dixie Vodka 400. Like I said, Homestead-Miami Speedway. It's a mile and a half intermediate track. Joining me, as always, Dane. How are you this Sunday?
Going good, ready to get going. Another full weekend of NASCAR concluding now, I guess. This will be a nice finale for it.
Yeah, it's been a great weekend. The Xfinity race is going on now. I had to shut it off just for streaming purposes, just because my internet isn't that great and can't handle two things at once. You guys are definitely priority here. But things were looking good. Had some plays up there. Gregson moved up quick. Elgire moved up quick, and I think Hemrick was the other one that was coming from the back because the driver change, because he took over for Dale Jr., who was in there yesterday. So things were going good there. The truck race was awesome as well. The other Xfinity race yesterday, and now, like you said, we got the Cup race. Things are a little bit different this time around in terms of Homestead. It has played as the finale championship race, I believe, since I forget the year exactly, but it's been a while that Homestead has been the finale. So this is a little bit different in terms of there's only been four drivers that have had a chance at the championship over the last few years at the Homestead. So the narrative changes a little bit there. Does that change things for you at all?
Uh, Not really. I'm still looking at some of these guys that have come in here, and I know that it's always the last race of the year, the championship race, and a lot of them are in the final four that I'm going to talk about as my favorite dominators. But I still like to see that they've just completely dominated this track over
Yeah.
the recent year.
Yeah, and actually leading that list off, obviously, is the most expensive driver this week on both sites, Kevin Harvick. He's got top five finishes in six straight races here, including his championship win. That would be 2014, I believe it was. Yeah, so he's absolutely dominated here. 224 laps led, which is second to only Kyle Busch here over those last five races at this track. And Martin Truex Jr. is right up there, but Kevin Harvick's going to be up there for me. Even, looking at the track type history, mile and a half track since the start of last year, he is tied with Hamlin with three wins and tied with Kyle Busch with nine top fives and leads everyone with 15 top tens in those 18 races with a whopping 1,065 laps led. So he's absolutely dominated the mile and a half over the last year and a half in terms of 18 races on this track type. He's dominated here, and he's been awesome since the return to racing. He's had two wins. All the races inside the top 20. Only four drivers can say that. And three top fives in the seven races as well, and leads everyone in laps led. So he kind of hits on everything for me.
Yeah, and I really like the way that DraftKings kind of did pricing this week for once. I think it is another stars and scrubs week, but I'm a lot more off this 8 and 9K range than I usually am. I've loved especially the 9K range recently, and when they leave Blaney like Wednesday night down the 8K range as a
Yeah,
dominator. But I think it is a lot more stars and scrubs type of week. Maybe one or two of these guys in your lineups because there is enough value, especially in that 6K range, to fit them in.
yeah, I agree. And then in terms of that upper tier, is there anyone that you would like pivot to? Like we always talk 20 max, so you're like 10% is going to be like you're kind of like your two lineup type thing. Is there any guys that you're kind of looking to pivot off of some of these chalky guys? Because I would imagine Harvick, Logano, Kyle Busch, those three have absolutely dominated here. Truex, obviously, three straight top two finishes after a rocky go of it here at Homestead, but he's been awesome here lately. Those four drivers, I think, we're going to take over that ownership there. Like, are you looking to pivot to anyone like Chase Elliott, Hamlin, Johnson?
Um, Maybe Chase Elliott. I think I'm completely off Jimmy Johnson. Hamlin, he's not been very good here recently,
No.
and he is starting on the pole, but I just don't. Um, I could see Logano or Kyle or somebody like that taking the lead over him or pretty early in this race and him not paying off that price tag. I do like Truex probably the most up here. Like I said in the article, I'm not being a homer, but he's really found something, I think, with this team, with new crew chief, with James Small recently. They picked up the win Wednesday night. They've been great here. Probably if they didn't mix up their front tires last year here in in the fall, they probably would have won that race, or
Yep.
were on their way to dominating even more. But I think I like him the most up here. Him and Harvick are probably, obviously they're the top two price, but my two favorites up there, and then the pivot off of them is probably going to be Chase for me.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. With those guys, I think we can go definitely stars and scrubs. I mean, that's the way I'm kind of leaning here again, just because of this value range. So, just before I jump into that value range, I wanted to ask you on Christopher Bell. I know we had talked about it this week. Pricing didn't come out until they did the draw. So, we were kind of expecting because he drew, I believe it was, just let me scroll over here on the sheet, 36th. So, pretty much right there at the back of the pack. I was expecting him to actually be higher priced, to be honest with you, the way they've been, put Jimmy Johnson at 12.5 there in that last race, just because of place differential. But I think Bell is a great play here, even at 9,300. I hope people start fading him. I was hoping he'd be 10, even over 10K with that place differential myself. What's your thoughts on that, and how much are you going to have? I think even with those top four guys that we talked about taking up some of the chalk there, some of the ownership, I think Bell may still be a little bit lower owned.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just don't like the price. I'm still gonna have him for sure. I'm just not gonna be probably heavy on him. Depends on how the builds fill out. If I fall in that range, he's probably my favorite from him down till you get to, let's see, either Kenseth or De Benedetto. He's probably my favorite in that uh, range. So if I fall up in the mid nines, I'll probably just plug him in those lineups. But I just personally don't think he has enough upside. I know he's got a lot of place differential, but I think he's more of a 15 to 20 place upside car, which would be fine. But at 9,300, I just don't know if that'll get you there in tournaments. It just depends on a lot of other factors too.
I I would have to disagree with you a little bit in terms of if you think he's a 15th to 20th place car, that gives him a range of 40 to 50 points, not counting any fast laps, which I don't think he's going to get. I don't think he's going to get laps led either. But 40 to 50 points in that range. I'm just looking at Brad Keselowski. For him to get 40 to 50 points, you're looking at at least a top four finish. Clint Boyer below him, you're looking at eighth or better. Blaney, you're looking at seventh or better. And then Kurt Busch, you're looking at seventh or better as well. So I really do. I don't think he's necessarily a 15th place car, but I think that could be definitely his upside. So I'll take 50 points at 9,300 if that's his upside. I like his floor, which I think he's at least a 25th place car, which is going to give you 30. That's not quite enough, but that's going to save you considering that he's got a 50-point upside. I'm probably looking at maybe around 40 points. Just looking at the matrix alone, just seeing that Brad Keselowski needs at least a fourth place finish, I don't think Brad's going to get many fast laps or laps led. I think that's kind of going to fall. I've got projected right now Kevin Harvick at the top of the laps led, with Joey Logano and Kyle Busch as my top three dominators for this race. So that's kind of way I looked at it, was Bell versus Keselowski on the matrix, and I really do like the safety a little bit more with Bell and the upside, to be honest with you.
Okay. I mean, maybe I'm just looking at the Benedetto's finishes here
Yeah.
too much. He's definitely has. I think he does have that 15th place upside, and that's why I'm gonna have some of him. But I think the more likely outcome is in the around the 20th. Is just my personal opinion.
Awesome. No, that makes a lot of sense. Blaney, got a question here. Any love for Blaney this week?
Not for me personally. Like I said, I really just don't like this 8 and 9K range,
No.
or mid 8 to upper 9K range. I like from Kyle up a lot more. And I think we have the value if you just jam a couple of those guys in there. You can do it, kind of like last week was.
Yeah, and Blaney had a career high 11th place finish at Homestead last year. He's starting 11th. Today, I don't think there's any place differential upside. I think maybe like an 8th place finish is probably his highest upside. That's only +3 in the place differential. I think his downside is a lot lower. He's always been, even going back to the start of last year, it's like he was either like top 5 finish or like 30th. He's very up and down, very GPP. I think he's going to be low owned because there's a couple guys right below him that I really like. I'll get into next. So I guess if you want to go there for GPP, He's going to be probably one of the lower owned guys in that 8K and up range, probably third, or I would say at least third lowest owned in that range, and that is of 15 drivers. Yeah, 15 drivers are 8K and more on DraftKings. So you could go that way for GPP, but I would have to be up in terms of like 50 plus lineups before I got to Blaney today. So watch that blow up in my face. Going down a little bit, you mentioned him, Matt Kenseth. Absolutely love the value here today. He is starting 20th. He has top 10 finishes, actually 8th or better in 6 straight races here, and top 10s in 8 of his last 9. That's an average finish of 7.4 over the last 9 races, an average finish of 7 over the last 5. I know it's different equipment. It's still great equipment. The Chevys have been fast. The 42 has been fast, and at that 8,200 price tag and 75 on FanDuel, he is definitely going to be a core play for me. Just looking at the matrix at Kenseth, so he's starting 20th. So if he finishes 20th, he's only looking at 24 points, but I think he's definitely a 15th place car. So I'm kind of got his floor around 34 points with upside of around that top 10, which is like 44 or 46 points, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think he's got top 10 upside for sure. If some people might think maybe it's just this car was just better with Larson, or something here. Looking at its past results, just in regards to the 42 car here has been great with Larson. But Kenseth, look at his finishes recently here too, back when he was running full time.
Love riding
I
the wall.
think they have a setup that suits the type of driver that Kenseth is for this track. So I think if he's going to ever find some form, this is going to be the place. De Benedetto, I like his upside too there at 8,000. He's been pretty good at tracks like Darlington, which I think kind of resembles this place. Remember, he's in a different car than he's had the 20th to 37th over the last 5 years. So I think Menard finished around 15th to 20th, somewhere in there, back when he was in this car. So I think he's got potential upside of a 10 to 12th, and more likely around the 15th place.
Yep, I definitely agree with you. So next question up here, constructing a lineup with 3 Dominator drivers, 3 mid-range drivers, and 4 Dominator drivers and 2 mid-range drivers. That kind of just leads into what I wanted to talk about a little bit with this track. While this track is, one of the favorites of the drivers, it's fun to watch. The reason it was a championship race is because it's got multiple lanes. You can either run the wall, you can run the bottom, you can run the middle. You can really jump around and search for speed if you're looking to pass someone. Now, with that said, you'd think there would be a lot of passing here. You get and start looking at like the track history. I got the detailed section, which kind of goes and looks back at the last 10 races at each track. Looking at correlation from start to finish, this is very, very high. Like I'm talking Martinsville high, like 0.6 to 0.8 over the last 3 races here have had a very, very high correlation to start to finish. We've had 2 drivers lead 100 plus last year. That was Truex and Kyle Busch. The year before that, I don't think we had any drivers lead 100. I'm just going to scroll over here and give you that data. No, but we did have 2 lead 50 plus and 6 lead 20 plus. Now, those drivers that have led the most laps at this track have come predominantly from the top 5 position. I personally think we're looking at a 2 Dominator. You're going to need 2 guys this race, probably similar to last year with Busch and Truex leading 100 plus each. I think maybe not 100 plus, but probably 2 guys that are going to lead 75 plus laps each, dominate in different sections of the race. I talked about it. We're looking at Kevin Harvick, so guys starting up front. So our top 10. I don't think Hamlin's going to be up there. I think he's one of the guys that's probably going to be drifting back. I think Logano has a chance to get up front and lead a bunch of laps early. Like I said, Harvick is my top guy. I think he's eventually going to take over the race, kind of mid-race to the end and lead the most laps. Very close with Logano and Kyle Busch. So I have 3 on my list, but I would say Harvick, Logano, Busch for amount of laps led in that order. But I think Logano leads early.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's either going to be him or Kyle leading early. We've seen kind of the Toyotas are not great at the very beginning of the race sometimes, so maybe not. But I think he can't hit that price. 10-1 is a little, uh, like I said, Wednesday is probably the lowest I've seen in a long time for Kyle Busch. Maybe take some momentum from the truck race or something. But as far as guys up there, I'm keeping most of them in my pool and say a 20 max field because I like the stars and scrubs more than going into that 8 and 9K range. So I'm keeping Harvick, Truex, Chase, Logano, and Kyle especially. I doubt I have any Hamlin. I'll just take that stand there. Hopefully he gets a little owned as the pole guy. But we'll just see. But I'm keeping most of those in my pool this week. 2 to 3 dominators per lineup.
Nice. I like
I
that.
doubt you can get 3 of those in a lineup, but
Yeah. Okay, so next question is asking why I think Bell is necessary when Cole Cup. Bell isn't necessary. I'm not saying he's necessary. I'm saying Bell is one of my core and one of my favorite drivers because personally, I only play a lot of GPP in NASCAR. I love the pivot there because of those four guys that are going to be very popular in the 10K plus range. I think Bell will be under-owned after looking at that. And like I said, I like him to, even at 15th place finish, is 50 points. 25 is 30, so I'm looking at that 30 to 50 point range. I do like that, even for GPP. And then the question in relation was to Custer, who's a lot cheaper. He is 3,300 cheaper on DraftKings, starts right in front of him. I love Custer too, don't get me wrong. Absolutely love Custer. He's at 49 points. Looking at that is a lot cheaper and has the exact same, looking at the matrix, almost identical numbers there. So it's a lot less risk. Custer's going to be a lot higher owned. I'll give you that at only 6K. So that makes a lot of sense. I love Custer myself. He's going to be in a lot of my lines, probably my highest owned value play. And of the value plays, guys that I'm looking at behind Custer are Ryan Preece at 33rd. He fits nice in there as well at that 5,700. McDowell again at only 5,200 makes sense starting 30th. I don't think he has a ton of upside. 25th place finish for McDowell. You're looking at about 26 points. I think he's maybe got upside at 20, so 34. So he's kind of fallen down the list, but I do like the price to be able to stack up those other guys at the top. And then Ty Dillon's probably going to be the lower owned of those four just because a little bit more expensive.
yeah, I like again kind of like the top range. I'm fine with a lot of these guys, and I think I'm leaning a lot as we talk. I'm leaning a lot more towards just Xing that from maybe Boyer down to maybe even Bowman out in a 20 max and just doing stars and scrubs for everything and mix and matching a lot of these value plays. Erik Jones is again underpriced. I like the Toyotas here. He was third, right behind his teammates last year. Austin Dillon just had a kid, I guess, this morning. But he's ran good here in the past. I think he's a pretty good pivot off of Custer in some lineups where you can play them together for sure. Almirola, I think he's another decent play. I think he has some good upside. We got used to seeing him start on the front row and just completely Xing him. But 21st, he's obviously a GPP play, but I think he does have 10th to 15th place, and he's another guy you can mix and match in there.
Yep. And I had Suarez highlighted on the sheet earlier. I'm probably going to end up taking that off. I mean, I think he's going to be super low owned just because of all the value plays that we just talked about that are all like $500 to $1,000, $1,200 cheaper than Suarez, who's kind of been, the guy that everyone turns to for value lately and has kind of let us down with, 30th place finishes or what have you. He's been not bad, 26 average finish since the return to racing, but the average run position has been about 2 spots worse, around 28. So he's been not running as good as he's been finishing. So that's definitely one thing I look at a little bit more when I start digging into each individual drivers. One guy
What do you think about with Austin Dillon? What about his teammate Reddick, 7,300? I think I like him a lot more than Suarez at least. Let's see, he started 24th.
Yeah.
I like him a lot in GPPs.
Yeah, I know the cars are different, going and looking at Xfinity, but we almost have to get some sort of data for some of these rookies. So looking at Tyler Reddick, he's finished fourth and won the last two at Homestead. So I mean, yeah, that definitely stands out over Suarez, most definitely. And then we've been talking about Bell and Custer, so I was just going to bring them up real quick and just look at their last. I mean, I should have just opened.
Custer was top two, I think, in the last three. I know I put that in the article, but I can't remember.
And that was kind of your championship four going into that. So Bell has been worse of the guy. Like the last 2 years in those championship races, he's finished 11th and 5th. So he hasn't been as good. Reddick's been awesome. I imagine Reddick's a driver. He's going to be right up against that wall here. He loves that outside lane. This is a track where you can do that. Run really fast, and with the rubber that's been laid down already this weekend with 3 races, I think most definitely he's going to be up there early. We always talk about Kyle Larson being one of the first drivers to really get up against the wall. I think it's going to be Reddick today. So yeah, I don't actually have him on the sheet, but you bringing him up here, me looking over those stats, it's going to be Reddick and Custer in terms of my favorite rookies, and they're both cheap too. Reddick's kind of getting up there, but still cheaper than Bell. That's why, looking at this over and over, I think Bell's really, really low owned. I'm probably going to change him from a green core play, which kind of is about 30 to 40% exposure, to probably in that GPP range, which is going to be like 10 to 20, just because of kind of what we talked about.
Yeah, you're
here.
talking me a little bit more to him on there. I mean, I think I'm probably going to have him in 3 or 4 at least now, where I was leaning 1 or 2. I think you made a pretty good case for him. If he can get, I mean, he's shown to have some speed this year, and maybe not what we quite expected, but I think he does have potential 15th upside.
Yep, for sure. The other question here I just answered because I think you said it already. Pivot off Custer was a nice one. Underpriced a little bit is Erik Jones at 6,500. I don't like that he's starting 15th. I think that alone makes him low owned. Because that gives him a floor if he finishes where he's at of 15th or 29 points for a 15th place finish. Even a 10th only gives him 39, whereas Ty Dillon, to get that same 39, only needs a 19th place finish with like 2 fast laps kind of thing, 18th place finish with none, which I think is a lot safer. But again, Erik Jones is going to be a lot lower owned. We know he's got top 5 upside. He's won races on intermediate tracks, so he's got that 50-point upside, but I think his downside is there. So yeah, definitely GPP only, and a good pivot off Custer if you want to avoid that chalk.
Yeah, what was did he just burn everybody the last race, or was that a few races ago? And
on Jones?
Yeah.
I've got up those
I feel like he
races.
burnt people.
Oh, he did. I remember. He had issues early, I believe. That was the Atlanta race. He started 14th, finished 28th. He was 3 laps down. The Toyotas were, I think, all terrible there. That was definitely it. And then Martinsville started 13th, finished 20th.
He was 20th.
It was definitely that 14th place starting position at Atlanta where we were kind of looking at him as a nice value because his price was still in this same price range. So it looked good. So this is kind of that same situation. A little bit different track, so I hope maybe people look at that. I think he's going to be, with the other values that we talked about down here, I think Jones is going to be super low owned and an excellent GPP pivot.
Oh, man, if you're going to tell me that, I'm going to up him even more in what I think I'm going to have of him. I love that low owned Erik Jones. That'd be nice.
That would be. I mean, at that price.
I think it's possible. He's going to pay off this price tag. They keep pricing him in the 6K range. He's going to pay that off eventually.
Yeah.
Just in too good of equipment and too good to not.
And he's a good driver.
He's got top 5 potential upside. I mean, he showed that here last year. That's not the most likely scenario is not top 5, but I think it's likely there. A top 10 out of him.
And he's proved it. He's given us winning upside. It's not like a driver like we're seeing, his career high. We were talking about Ryan Blaney, for instance. We've seen him race here, 5 times, and he's finished, it was 0 top 10s. It was a career high 11th last year, 2 outside the top 25, and 4 outside the top 15. Like, it's a lot easier to see when Erik Jones has shown us that upside here, that upside on intermediate tracks before. He's a heck of a lot cheaper, like 2,000 cheaper. Blaney hasn't shown us top 10 upside at this track yet, so, I mean, it just kind of makes it easy to go with Jones in that instance, and if there's a chance that he's like looking at guys 7,500 and below. If there's a chance that he's fourth or fifth highest owned in that area, I think it's an excellent play. 6,500.
Yeah.
So I changed Bell to a GPP play, kind of after thinking about it a little bit, just because Custer's a heck of a lot cheaper and kind of fits that same mold in terms of where they're starting and on the fantasy point matrix. So yeah, I think your common build here today is going to be 2 or 3 of Logano, Busch, Harvick, even going down to Kenseth there at 8,200. I think mixing those ends in is going to be your core, because there's going to be 3 or 4 value plays that are going to be really good plays today. So definitely that's the way I'm going. Thoughts on Byron?
I like him. He's definitely going to be in my pool. Where is it? He's starting like 20th or something. 22nd. Yeah, I mean, hasn't been good here in the past, but he's in pretty good equipment. He's kind of falls into the range, not exactly not price, but him and Chase I kind of think of as the same. They're good pivots off what's around them, and they're in almost identical equipment.
Someone asked why are we low on Truex? Not low on Truex at all.
I'm not low on Truex.
No, not at all. Kevin Harvick's my favorite. Is my favorite over Truex just because of he's been more consistent. He's got a better average finish over like the last 10 races. They're pretty close, but I'm leaning Harvick here just because he hits in terms of current form, track history, track type history, season form, dominator points. He just has the edge a little bit for me over Truex. And then Logano, I just like going to Logano and Kyle Busch, who are just a heck of a lot cheaper, and you can just build a little bit more balanced lineup. I'm definitely not going to be low on Truex. If Truex is going to be, 20, I bet you he's probably 30% owned. Would you think that's fair, GPP? 20 to 30%?
Yeah, 30.
30?
I think he's in the 30s or mid 30s.
Yeah, so what that puts you, like if you're doing, let's just say for instance, I'm going to bring this up here. My screen's away. Yeah, so if you're doing 20 lineups, you're only looking at 6 lineups with Truex. I guess I'm a little bit, if he's going to be 30%, I'm probably going to be a little bit lower on. I'm probably more around 25%, but I mean, that's right around there. I'm definitely not low on. I'm not going to have like one lineup or anything like that. I'm definitely going to have enough of him and spreading it out between Harvick, Truex, Logano, and Kyle Busch in that 10K plus range. Those 4, but just in terms of ranking those 4, I like Harvick, Logano, Busch, and Truex. Truex is 4th in that list just because of the price, and I like Harvick so much more than him is the only reason.
Yeah, our Truex is going to be my highest owned up there. Right behind him will probably be Kyle, then Harvick and Logano.
Yeah. And then thoughts on Kenseth. We talked about him. I love the price. I love that he is starting 20th. I love that he's finished top 10 here in 6 straight and 8 of his last 9. He's just been awesome, and he's definitely going to be a core play for me, even more so on FanDuel where he's only 7,500. Makes building the lineup real easy when you jam in Kenseth and Custer over on FanDuel. I think both have top 15 upside and a pretty darn good floor for both of them, and that allows you to pretty much pick and choose whoever you want to put in your other 3 spots. So it's definitely where I'm going there.
People are going to want to click that button with how he's been recently. So
I hope not, but I've seen surprises before. Some here think got one guy mentioned Erik Jones. He thinks he's going to be popular. Definitely could be at that price in the equipment that he's in. I just think that Custer, Ryan Preece, even Ty Dillon to an extent are going to be a little bit higher owned, pushing Jones down to say, like I said, 4th or 5th highest owned in that sub $7,500 range. Maybe not super low owned, but that might be super low owned if he's 4th or 5th highest in that range. But I think Custer's really high owned. Preece right behind him, and then Ty Dillon I think is pretty close in terms. Even Michael McDowell at 5,200 I think people will go back to again, just because he's been consistent 25th place finish at low 5K price tag. That's the only reason I had there.
Yeah, I don't know about I'm not great, I guess, at gauging ownership a lot of times, but I'll be on. Jones is a guy I like regardless of whether he's owned or not. So
yeah,
I'll probably have the same percentages either way.
Yeah, for sure. And then before we go here, while I'm waiting for a few more questions, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Prize Picks, a new partnership myself got into with them. I've been playing over there for about a month now. I play all sports. I've been playing KBO, PGA. I like them all. I really, really like NASCAR just because it's really simplified. All you're really doing is picking 2, 3, or 4 drivers. So you pick 2, you're going to get 2.5x your value if both finish over or under. And all you're doing is they have fantasy points set. So for instance, Denny Hamlin is set at 33.5 points. 33.5 points means, and they're only looking at finishing position for this site, which is awesome. So that's a 7th place or better if you pick the over fantasy. I think he's under, so he's one of my picks today is Denny Hamlin under 33.5, which is right around that 7th place or worse finish, which I kind of think that we talked about how he's not really fitting. Hasn't really been great here. Another one I got is Kurt Busch over 30.5 points. That's a 10th place or better. I think Kurt is in line for a top 10 here. I like that. And then 2 more picks, which are my 2 most confident ones, would be Logano over 33.5, which is a 7th or better, and Kenseth over 25 points, which is a top 15 finish. I'm on board with that. So what I do is I take those 2, Logano and Kenseth overs, and I'll play those and get my 2.5x, and I kind of play that like a cash game, and then I add the other 2 in there. So with those 4 picks, if I get all 4 right, it is a 10 times my money. So a $25 bet would be $250 return. You can also do a flex play if you're not 100% confident, which allows you to get 1 wrong. If you get 1 wrong, you're going to get 1.5x value still in that 4 play. And if you get all 4 right, you're going to be now reduced to just 5x. So you're still going to get a pretty good return on your getting 4 right. But you're going to get still going to get some payback even if you get 1 wrong out of those 4. So that's kind of the way I play it. And if you go and sign up, use promo code Jaeger, and you'll get entered to win a free month of my Patreon, as well as get entered into my NASCAR and PGA $25 winner take all free rolls next week. Link is also in the description. Thanks a lot, Dane. Any final thoughts? Any drivers? Oh, okay. There's a question. That's the guy I was actually going to ask you about. Is Clint Bowyer? It's one guy we have not mentioned at all. I am personally not on Bowyer today. I've just got too much exposure of others.
Yeah, me too. I'm off of him.
Okay, that sounds good. Thoughts on Tyler Reddick? We just kind of discussed him just maybe before you popped in here.
Really
Scott.
like him for GPPs.
We're both, Yep, we're both really on Reddick. I wasn't before. I actually just highlighted him as a one of my top values, 7,300 there. He has won the last 2 Xfinity races, winning the championships in that series before coming up to Cup. So he loves running the outside, laying up against the wall. So yeah, we're both really on Reddick. Other than that, I believe inspection, is that going on right now? Do you know? I'm just kind of waiting on an update.
I think I saw it tweeted that everything was good.
Okay.
I think he said everything was good.
No one's going to the back or anything. I don't have
I think
my
there was
usual
somebody,
third
but
screen
I'm
on.
not playing him. I think it was like Quinn Half or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see a lot of updates coming through across Bob's for the Xfinity race that's going on now, so I'm going to have to dig into that.
Yeah, Cup pre-race tech complete. Half will drop to the rear for failing twice. Everyone else is good.
Oh, awesome. So there we go. Everyone's good to go except for Hauff, and I hope you're not using him anyway. Right on. If you got questions leading up to lineup lock here, it looks like we've got about an hour and a half to complete our lineups. Head over to rotopros.com, get your free sign up, get your free trial, get in the Slack chat. Me and Dane will be in there leading up to lineup lock. DFSR.com, I'll be in that chat leading up to lineup lock, and my Patreon. You can send me a message through Patreon as well as join my Slack chat there as well. Lots of places to hit us up. Also on Twitter, at Jaeger_bombs. Dane, what's yours?
Red Stag 007.
Nailed it. Awesome. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks everyone for watching. Let's go get some green screens, and good luck today.
Yeah, let's crush it. Good luck, everybody.